Kyle, I thought this movie was pretty good. It was, I would say, even rad, or
out,
some other
out,
word
before you even goddamn say it.
I don't know, what are you talking about? It's some sort of, there's gotta be some word that actually describes how good this movie is.
Cracked.
In a weird, cracked.
Cracked.
Yeah, it's good, it cracked. This movie totally cracked. Anyway, welcome to the UGO Podcast, Netflix and Kill Edition. A little bit of a switch up this week.
Apparently they didn't like my movie so much, they actually vetoed me.
I don't know, I liked it. I mean, it wasn't... Spoiler for Wormwood, it's not good, but I liked it.
It was fun.
But we're not all able to watch Wormwood this week, so instead we've jumped forward in time to next week. So to watch Kyle's next pick, Dope.
Yep.
So that's good. Next
Funny
week,
story on how we started watching this. I was screening it right after we recorded last week, and then you guys came down and we're like, we're watching this.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch this.
And then someone died very fast. We're like, yep, we're watching this.
Yeah, and Kyle's like, it counts. And I'm like, all right, we gotta do this. And then he started it back over from the beginning, and it was all good. But yes, who's talking time traveling reviews with you? It's me, Nick the Merc with a mic, and my fellow Unapologists,
Travis and Kyle.
And
Kyle may be dying over there.
Kyle thought this movie was so sick that he's actually sick. So, but Kyle, it was your pick. So, would you like to describe the plot of Dope?
One of the plots of Dope. All right, so 3 kids who are punks.
They're
nerds. They're
nerds. They're so
but
nerds.
in their school, they're so nerdy that they're punk. Because apparently their school, because punk's all about like being anti-conformist and stuff, and apparently the most conforming thing you can do, or non-conforming thing you can do, is be a nerd and be good at school.
Now, if this was a 90s movie, they would be part of the cool crowd and the conforming crowd.
Yeah.
But
no.
Because they are obsessed with 90s culture.
Yes.
And by obsessed, I mean that they actually wear 90s clothes.
Nope, they have a high top.
The one guy has a high top fade. Oh my god. Really?
Yeah, I didn't mind it. I don't mind the high top.
If you're not a prince of some sort of fresh variety from Bel Air, I don't think the high top fade works for you.
Let's go do a slight spoiler alert. It looked a lot better when you took it off.
I liked it. I was like, this movie was bordering on a 10 out of 10, but like that's what clicked. That's what cinched it. That's what cinched it right there.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, so these 3 nerds get caught up after trying to impress a girl into a drug trafficking ring.
Yes.
And they have to try to get rid of the dope that they are now in possession with before they get killed by the rival gangsters and such.
Now that is impressive because Kyle has described the basic setup of this movie in a way that makes sense and was actually very short, but he undersells how crazy
this is fucking amazing.
The series of events that lead to this are like the craziest fucking thing. Like it's one crazy thing after another.
It's like if it were Pulp Fiction told in order.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
It's chronological Pulp Fiction. It's cause like you're getting a feel for the characters, right? You know, you see them and it's like, okay, well they're nerdy, they got the 90s clothes, it's kind of weird.
One of them's a chick.
One of them
you don't even realize that at first.
It's like, even the movie was narrated by Forrest Whitaker as like, oh yeah, by the way, she's a chick. I'm like, oh, thank you. Like, I actually needed the clarification because once she started to talk, I'm like, wait, is that a girl? And yeah, that's Dig, who is the lesbian friend of our main character, Dom.
Yep. And I just gotta say, I love all of our characters. They're fun.
Yeah, they're all great. And they also have a friend, the third flunky, the third stooge, if you will.
She was Dig, so he would have been...
Damn it,
it was another 3-letter thing.
Jaleel?
We'll get it.
Or...
Yeah, Gel,
yeah. Because they all have, their cool shortened names,
yeah.
And,
Actually, where is even Malcolm's character? I didn't even see him on here. Stupid IMDb.
Yeah, and that's right, Malcolm. I called him Dom. That's actually the name of the...
No, that's the really
drug
smart
dealer, right?
dealer.
That's the drug dealer, yeah. The main guy, our main guy is Malcolm. They are trying to, get to avoid the bullies who steal their shoes.
The one shoe when he runs off. He ran
that was a
well.
weird strategy of like, oh, I know what I'm going to do to get rid of this bully. I'm going to take off one shoe in order to make sure that I run as slow as possible, and try to run away. And I love that they're walking down the street and Dom the drug dealer, as we found out later, kind of calls over Malcolm
as they're stealing their bikes.
As they're trying to steal their bikes, he calls them over, and you kind of go, "Oh man,
this is a bad idea."
This is a bad idea, but he's caught. Like he calls him out by name, and you go like, "Shit! Like, do I avoid this guy? Because he will remember that I avoided him tomorrow,
right?
And I might pay for this later." So he reluctantly goes over and is like, "Hey, would you talk to this chick for me?" I'm like, "Oh, well." Yeah, that's not even illegal. I'll do that, sure.
Yeah.
And he goes over to this chick who's studying and is like inviting him to his birth. He's like this go-between because they keep going back and forth, and the girl keeps telling him visa him to fuck off and say this exact words to him, and he's like, I don't know if I want to say that.
But he does.
He
does. It's like, wow, kid, you got balls.
He's got, at some points in this movie, he has too much balls. But we'll get to that. Cause yeah, I love it because he's digging on the girl like as he's asking her out for this other guy. Like, oh man, I'm kind of digging on this, and they're even flirting a little bit. And he ends up getting invited to the same party, and so they're all like, yeah, we got to go to this party. It's like our one chance to go to a cool party, and even then they get into this cool party, and even that has unforeseen consequences because the bouncer won't let him in because it's like, well, you're kids. I mean, he's an asshole about it, but like there's drinking and drugs in this party, so it's like...
He's like, hey, you're kids, I can't let you in.
Yeah. And
he was a responsible bouncer.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was responsible.
He did his job.
He was doing his job, and then they proceed to sneak in by pretending like, oh, we're with the band. Like we're with the band crew or whatever setting up. And Dom sees them, waves them in, and then the bouncer makes the mistake of trying to like, oh, sorry, I already told them I couldn't let them in, and Dom's like, now why do you gotta do that? I mean, why do you got to contradict me in front of everybody? I mean, I like you. I don't want to have to beat you up in front of everybody, but now I got to. I mean, I have to. Otherwise, I lose cred. You understand, right? Like he rationalizes it to him and everyone around him of like why this has to happen.
And they go through the important dialogue of a slippery slope.
Yes. Yeah, and even that's like, so you know what a slippery slope is? And even Malcolm is just like, oh, a slippery slope is defined by this. I'm like, why are you talking right now?
Just stop talking.
Why are you talking? Like,
that happens usually a lot in this movie where you just kind of wish Malcolm would just stop. Well, just kind of everything.
But I love it because there's no point in this story where you feel like they make a decision that's really, really stupid. No. Or that's not understandable. Like, because...
trying to cut in on Dom and his would-be girl.
That was dumb.
Yeah, that was straight up
because
dumb.
When they get into the party, he ends up dancing with this chick, and of course he's having a good time, right? And he's sneaking in between Dom talking to the girl he wants to chat up. Yep. Then Dom comes over and is like, oh, hey, can I cut in? And he starts talking, and then Malcolm
says, we were dancing.
Hey man, we were dancing, bro. And I'm like, what are you? You just saw him beat up a dude that he liked, that he said that he liked.
It was also like twice your size.
And he doesn't know you. And it's like, and even Dom's like, I'm sorry, did you say something? I'm like, no. I want to jump into the movie and go in between him like, no, he didn't say shit. Malcolm, shut the fuck up right now. Because this is not going to go well for you. Anyway, after that it's like, okay, well they had fun at the party, they're drinking, they're acting like jackasses like kids, and in the back room Dom does a drug deal that goes bad, and we get
the cops came in and started shooting people up.
And it's like, wow, the cops really arrived really fast, didn't they? And a lot of the characters think that too, so I'm like, okay, so this was a setup. And we get because Dom helps Malcolm up. It's like, yo, get out of here, get out of here. And Dom's like, wow, that guy really helped me out. And I think, what was it, like Travis, called it early. It's like, oh shit, he gives
them the backpack back, which that was good cinematography.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or not necessarily cinematography because it was typical camera work, but it was good showing and not telling.
Yeah. They didn't focus on it, but it's definitely in the scene. You see it.
I didn't actually realize until the next scene is him going back to school where they're kind of a lower city school where they've got actual like metal detectors and guards like at the gates, and as soon as I show up I'm like, oh fuck.
And
He's
I'm like,
got the drugs.
I'm like, oh great. I thought I'm like, okay, he has probably a brick of the drugs or something, and he's gonna have to deal with it.
He doesn't have a brick.
No, he doesn't have a brick of the drugs.
Not only does he not have the drugs, he has the fucking gun.
He has a fucking gun. But here's the thing: when they go through the metal detector. And with the gun, and the metal detector goes off, the drug sniffing dog starts barking. The security guard just waves him past because he's the fucking nerd.
It's amazing.
That guy fails so hard.
Like, this whole entire movie would never succeed. Well, the fact that security guard was so fucking bad at his job.
Do your job, okay? This is exactly why you are around, and you are failing right now. And so I love the look on Malcolm's face when he opens up the backpack in his locker, because that's some good acting right there, because his face, without any dialogue, says, oh shit, I have a bag full of drugs and a gun. Like, his face literally says it, like, oh crap. So he gets his friends together, and they get together in the music department, and it's
because they're in a band.
Oh crap, what do we do? We have like, and they're like, how much drugs is this? I don't know, like, there's a lot in here. And I think Kyle was the one that said like, okay, you gotta flush that. Like, flush it, pretend like it never happened, and just go about your day, ditch the gun like wherever, and just pretend this never happened.
Yeah, and we were all on board with that until all of a sudden the cell phone rings.
All of a sudden the cell phone rings, and one of them answers it, and it's like, hey, is this the guy with the bag? And it's like, I don't know, who's this? Is this Malcolm from, like, and they tell him exactly where he lives. Yep. And I'm like,
no, it wasn't where he lives. I think it was the GPS location of the school.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And so, like, they know who he is, they know where he is, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's me.
Okay, yeah, he can't flush it anymore.
Well, and I'm like, oh crap, he can't flush it because they know he has all of the drugs. And so he's like, okay, it's cool, you did a good job, man, you did good. Now all we need to do is for you to drop this drugs off at the car outside the school at this time, and you'll be okay. And I'm like, okay, I know this won't go well because we're only at like 25 minutes into the movie.
An exhausting 25 minutes.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, so all I gotta do is drop this off, right? And then in the middle of dropping off the drugs, Dom calls him, and it's like, hey, do you got that bag? And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm about to hand it to you in the car. Aren't you in the car? No, you stupid son of a bitch, that's not me. Oh shit, that's probably the snitch. And you go in your head like, oh crap, like, it's not Dom trying to manipulate him. That's probably what it is.
Yep.
Like,
and there's a good chance that they're gonna just kill him.
Kill him after cause he's the only one that knows, would know their faces, so he almost would have to die. So instead of dropping off the drugs, they decide to run off in their bikes and have this oddly funny chase scene, even though we as an audience know that if they get caught, they're gonna die. But yet it's still played for laughs in this weird way, and in a way that this whole movie is, that I kinda like. Like, this movie is tense and it's crazy, but it's also funny as shit.
Oh yeah.
It is hilarious.
Just the situations are just so fun.
Because this is a rare Netflix and Kill movie we all watched together, and I don't know about you guys, but I was always laughing at this movie. I was just like, man, this movie is hilarious. So yeah, from there, because that's like, in any other movie, that'd be like, okay, that's our second act turn, right? Like, we should be like halfway through the movie, right? No, that's like the beginning, like 20 minutes to a half hour. Like, that, we have like a whole, like, what's the running time of this movie? We got a whole hour and a half left, I think. It is fucking crazy. And so yeah, we jump from one crazy scenario to the next, to where we have to go to Dom's, business partner, guy who they meet up with another kind of white, musician there, and they start to record a track with him there out of nowhere, because that's what you do as musicians, I guess, is just like, oh, you're a musician too? Let's record something. I know you're in a life or death situation right now, but yeah, let's get something on the record here. They go out to get food, and
Malcolm stays behind.
Well, Malcolm stays behind because once they arrive there, they open the door, and this unbelievably hot woman opens the door, where she is just naked all but a bathrobe, and is giving like all of them the come hither eyes. And I was just like, whoa. And I'm like, okay, so maybe she answers the door to everybody like that, but then later it's like, no, she's trying to seduce Malcolm like pretty hardcore. And I was to myself like, why are all the women into Malcolm? Is it weird? Is it the hair?
Might be the high top.
Am I wrong about the high top? Because I think that would just deter women. But all right, maybe I don't know my hairstyles.
Maybe you have to grow it out, man.
Maybe I should. Next time you see me, I'm gonna be the Fresh Prince of Wisconsin. It's gonna be high top fade. It's gonna be bad. Just be ready for it.
You look like a Street Fighter character.
Oh God,
you would.
I would look like Guile. My Jean-Claude Van Damme impression would be complete.
Damn.
But we're not talking about Street Fighter. We're talking about Dope. And yeah, so I don't know. What were some of your favorite parts in the movie? Because there's so many great things I could talk about.
Yeah, I don't think we can talk about this movie ad nauseum.
I just really feel bad for that drug dog, because that probably poor dog feels really bad. It's like, no, the drugs are
I'm trying to do
like, that's probably like psychologically bad for that dog.
I mean, I almost want to do a whole spoiler section that's like the rest of this movie.
Just the whole rest of the thing.
Yeah, because it's like, because after that initial setup, you just will not believe like some of the crap that happens next.
Half the time we forget it. The best in one of those movies that it has multiple plot points and it ends them all. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the best point. But just we come back to plot points like, oh shit, I completely forgot about that part.
No, everything gets resolved by the end of this. Like they set up, like
even the stuff that you could. Like, maybe it's something that's like a little bad is that you could... They resolved everything, which is good. Mm-hmm. Some of the stuff did not need to be shown to be resolved because they could easily be assumed.
Yeah, like there's a lot of things that I think they were a little overly worried that the audience wouldn't get it. Like yep. Okay, we need to show this to make sure everyone knows that this turned out all right. And I was like... Yeah, I probably didn't need that, but it doesn't
really detract.
It doesn't hurt at all either. No. It just feels like, we could have probably skipped this. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, they meet up with other crazy characters. Like, what was the hacker's name?
I forget what his actual name is.
Mr. Carrot Top, I don't know.
Mr. Carrot Top hacker. And
who had some great lines in there as well.
And he has some great lines. He's played by Blake Anderson. I think he was Will.
Yep.
And he gives a great performance of like, they have to slap him every time he says the N-word because he wants to say the N-word. Like, he has this whole conversation of like, why can't white people say the N-word? And I'm just like, God, if you have to have that explained to you, you just don't get it.
Right. Well, the thing he brings the argument, it's like, not all of them are black. And it's like, well, he's Indian. Why's he gonna say it? Like, it's not how it works, dude.
I guess it's not how it works, man. It's like,
just accept it. Move on.
Like, Dig keeps slapping him. Like, why do you keep slapping me? Like, no, you're my boy. Like, but it's on principle. I have to slap you if you say it. Like, I don't want to. That's just the rules, man. So yeah, it's this great, thesis basically on expectations and, assuming things based off of just how they look on the surface. Like, a lot of the things in this movie wouldn't work if the nerd characters were not perceived as the nerd characters as they are. Because the main reason they get away with a lot of stuff is that they are just not perceived as a threat. Mm-hmm. Or, sometimes they are perceived as a threat because one of the main reasons they can't go to the cops is just like, well, should we take to the cops? Yeah, a young black guy going up to the cops with a bag full of drugs and a gun. I can't see how that would go wrong for me. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm pretty sure that would just completely work out and it wouldn't come back to bite me in the ass at all. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, yeah, they bring up a good point. So he's got stereotypes on both sides against him, and he's trying to like fight either side. Like, society is trying to define him. His circumstances as a home are trying to define him. He's trying to get into Harvard.
Yep.
He's being told that like he can't write like what was his letter based off of?
Yeah, his personal statement was based off of some hip hop album.
Yeah,
I believe.
I think it was, I forget what it was. Was it an NWA thing? Was it Ice Cube?
I don't
remember. But
maybe.
I can't remember exactly. But it was something like that. And he's got like his guidance counselor telling him like, no, you can't do this. You got to meet up with your with this guy who also went to Harvard, and he'll be your
reference.
And it's like, okay, you can't fuck this up. And of course later it's just like, oh shit, I fucked it up. Mm-hmm. Cause it was on the same day that all this other crazy shit happened.
Yeah.
But even that has a payoff that you do not expect later.
No, I love this payoff.
Like, even that I was just like, oh my god, how crazy can this get? at some point you could label this movie like, okay, there's a lot of coincidences in it, but I'm like, well, there's like a couple like really big coincidences, but nothing that's out of the realm of possibility. Like okay, life does have coincidences in it, and a lot of this other stuff in this movie is cause and effect. Like it's directly related to events that have happened previously. But yeah, I thought the acting was really good. The soundtrack is fucking amazing.
Fantastic.
The soundtrack is absolutely one of the highlights of this movie, cause they use all the 90s hip hop music, and it's basically all the music I grew up listening to. And it's just like every couple minutes you're kinda like, oh yeah, I remember this. Oh, that's good. They use a great, feature of storytelling, like even when they split up as a group. There's at one point where they split up as the group, and the other guys go to get fries, and they get tracked down, and we see a big tension moment, and then it kind of cuts to Malcolm, and we think we're going to come back at some point, but no, we don't. We stick with Malcolm until he ends up driving this crazy chick, half-naked chick on drugs. It's a long story. But we see one of the characters from the previous story driving away from the cops, running away, and we're like, oh shit, that's right. They were in a bad situation last time we left them off. I wonder what happened to them. Well, the fucking movie will answer that in reverse because it goes backwards, like, to show you what exactly happened. And I was just like, man, it was really inventive, storytelling and filmmaking.
By the way, the other friend's name is actually Jib.
Jib. Oh, okay.
Jib.
Because they all had like little nicknames for each other as well. And yeah, his friends stick with him throughout most of the movie. Like, Jib has an interesting moment where I'm like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And I'm like, okay, I kind of believe this, but they will kill you too.
Yeah.
Like,
that's what Dig basically brings up. Like, nah, we're all involved. It's not gonna matter.
You're all kind of involved in this. Like, it's not just Malcolm's problem anymore. But it does bring up it does show that like this shit is getting actually like crazy dangerous right now. And yeah, sometimes they use stereotypes, like sometimes stereotypes work against them, but sometimes they use it to work for them. Like, one of my favorite scenes is like they start to use just like, oh, well, why don't we, mix together the drugs in the, chemical lab in the school, because everyone will just assume that we're the nerds, we're working on stuff. And like, and the crazy fucked up thing is that it works. And it's like, oh, God damn it. And it works in a way where you could totally buy it too. Like it's like
well, that's one of those decisions that we've been like, are you guys stupid? Why would you do that at school?
I know. And I'm like,
buy the drug dog.
Yeah. Like, why would you do that? But then they're crazy logic because they never get caught for shit. Because they think like, oh, well, we never get caught. We've been getting away with it so far. It'll probably still work for us. And they don't realize later when one of the kids like, hey, why is that dog here? Oh, well, they do random checks every once in a while. You know, and no one's stupid. Like, it never brings up anything because no one's stupid to store drugs in a school. And they're like, huh, yeah, funny you should say that. I'll be back in just a minute.
Can I go to the bathroom?
And it's funny because you actually buy that because they are so the nerds. They probably would never have paid attention to that when they were in school before, because that's not their deal. That's not the crew that they run with. So they just wouldn't have noticed it before. I mean, it comes off as like, you didn't know that they have a check every once in a while, that they have a checks for drugs.
Your school has drug dogs, like, all the time.
But it could have been just that they just did not think about it, which, you know, they're portrayed as very intellectually smart characters, but they also are like teenagers, and a lot of the decisions they make are based off of emotions and kind of the heightened tension of the situation they're in at that moment.
But hey, this is a movie that doesn't treat teenagers like they're automatically the stupidest thing on earth, so that's a plus.
No, that's pretty cool. I love that scene too. Does culminate into the security guard's ultimate fail again.
Yes.
Like, it was just like, God, you are so horrible at your job. But yeah, other than that, I want to save most of the other stuff that for like a spoiler section. Is there anything else you guys wanted to hit, which really stuck out for you in this film? Is there any complaints? I should ask that, because I was trying to figure out any big complaints I had.
It's exhausting to watch. Like,
I kind of like it in that though.
It's actually one of the best parts about it, but it is almost exhausting to watch this movie.
I'd say like the trope of a the female as not the only female, but there's a female basically as a trophy at the end. Yeah, that's been kind of iffy, especially since it's been overdone.
Yeah, well, they always, like, the thing that I liked about it and why I probably didn't think about it is that at a certain point she exits the story so hard that I'm
does.
like, then she comes back and I'm like, I completely forgot you were in this movie. You were like 10 crazy plot points ago.
It wasn't like the whole entire movie was geared around trying to get into her pants.
That actually gets dropped pretty quick.
That does.
And so, yeah, it's not like the whole movie focuses on it, but you're right, she is treated more as a plot device than an actual character. Mm-hmm. She does have a character, though, like she's trying to study for college.
She's trying to get, she's trying to get the GED so she can get into college. Mm-hmm. And very, admirable kind of personality to her. So.
And you can tell that she genuinely likes this kid. Like, for whatever reason, like, I don't get it, but she's like, you know what, I kind of like you. And, because I think later she does describe,
Nick, there's more to people than high tops.
High tops. But no, she does explain later, like, you're not like the other people around. You're not like these other guys that are just like putting on a persona. You feel more real. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I get that. Cause if anything, Malcolm is real. Yeah. Like what you see from him, he's not putting on a front. That's who he is.
He seems to be almost incapable of lying.
He does seem to his detriment. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I get that now. Like when everyone else is so trying to put on this masculine front with her and be like, oh, hey girl, like trying to like really do the alpha male thing, to have someone come up and be like, I'm just going to be kind of a real person and talk to you like, hey, you're studying for college. Like, I'm a big into studying too. Would you need some help at some point? Like that real genuine, like, oh, he's actually interested in something that I'm interested in and would like, you know, like that's like when they stay with that, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see why she has that connection with him and would actually want to spend time with this guy. So that was cool. And probably cancels out the high top fade, like Kyle was saying.
What do you have against the high top?
My parents were killed by hot top fades, Kyle. My parents were killed. I have run a vendetta at night, and I dress up as a pair of clippers. And all high top fades will eventually fear my name.
I am the nap man.
I am the nap man. Beware me. But yes, anything else before we hit up our spoiler section, or should we just go into our ratings?
Ratings.
Go ratings. Okay, we'll have. I want to hear what Kyle thinks about it because it was his movie, and I'm really interested to hear what he thinks about it as technically an '80s kid.
That technical 1 year, which he doesn't even remember.
Technically a half of a year.
Like, you barely. You know what? No, we have to include you. We include the Tim Burton Batman in the '90s, so we include Kyle.
Yeah,
he gets in under the Batman rule.
I think it was a very well scripted, very well acted, and very well. Let's see. Like the screenplay is great. The writing's clever.
Yes.
The acting was on point and at some points over the top, but those were characters where you needed it. I'm not talking about the main three characters. I'm talking about like Mr. Carrot Top because I can't remember his name, and which God, I love that character though. And
there's even that what's that sub boss of the guy had the leather purses that he made, the fake purses.
Oh yeah, that guy.
That guy, he comes in for like, he's only in the movie for like 2 minutes.
He's got the one scene.
But he steals the movie for 2 minutes. That's just like, I can't stop watching that guy. It's crazy.
He actually teaches the main character an important lesson.
Yeah, he does.
Like, one of the ultimate lessons of the movie. Which is weird, because we can't even remember his name.
I know. I just remember him as the Fight Club guy. Like, the
Fight Club guy.
Fight Club goes like, yeah, hit me as hard as you can, you bitch. But Kyle, you were saying?
Yeah, I think it's a great movie. You should probably put this on your Netflix queue right away. I would highly recommend it. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
10 out of 10.
A rare 10 out of 10 for Kyle. So, but if I want to go next, if I can jump off that, I got to completely 100% agree with everything Kyle just said. I respect a movie even if it does one thing really good. This movie is firing on all cylinders almost all the time. The characters are great. They're well acted. The dialogue that they're delivering is not only delivered well, it is cleverly written. The way the story circles around to complete plot points, even when you least expect it, but then you realize this is the perfect time for that storyline to come back into the narrative, because the last thing you thought, like, okay, can't get any crazier from here. Oh, wait a goddamn minute.
Yep.
You don't think it can, but we'll prove you wrong. Yeah, and the thing about it was I was surprised almost throughout all of this movie. It kept surprising me. I'm like, I legit don't know what's going to happen next. And I was glued to the screen because I was like, I'm so invested in this. I want to see these guys get out of this situation that they have cornered themselves in. But, yeah, and when I was really trying to think, I'm like, man, is there anything I really didn't like this, or I disliked enough in this film to really detract at any sort of points? And I really couldn't come up with anything. Like, we stated that sometimes they resolve stuff that feels like, man, that probably couldn't have gotten resolved, but I don't feel like it detracts enough for me to lower the score. So, I'm gonna have to give this a 5 out of 5 and a Nick pick all the way. Put this on their Netflix. You know what? Don't bother putting it on Netflix. We'll just put it on Netflix.
Just do
and
it
fucking
now.
watch it now. Travis, what do you think?
I agree on most all points. This movie was really great. Really fun to watch, almost exhaustingly so. The only thing I really see a fault for is that I actually really like Dom as a character, and he pretty much disappears in the first 20 minutes, and you never actually hear from him again. And I felt like that was a little bit of disappointment, where I'm like, wait, no, what happened to Dom? Come on, let's go back to him.
Yeah, it does seem to. The thing is that when the movie's done with a character, like if they are no longer fixing to the plot, they are willing to drop them at that moment's notice.
They disappear, and he wasn't the only character to happen for that. It was just the one I liked the most.
Sure.
He was like this thug who was actually super intelligent. And I kept correcting everyone. It was kind of hilarious.
Yeah, especially I like the one where it's like, man, this guy was celebrating Obama and all the drone drops, and all of a sudden Dom's like, no, that shit's like a slippery slope. You don't want that coming down to us.
Because Dom made a really poignant point about that, and be like, hey, if they're surveilling, like, if they're surveilling someone over here, like, what's to stop them surveilling us here? What qualifies as enemy action? Like,
they killed an American. It's like they brought that up, and I'm like, that's topical. And that's a very good argument against the Obama administration, was the expansion of the drone wars. It's one of those things, and it was like, oh my god, we actually have a drone war.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it's not as cool as what sci-fi indicated it would be, right? It's a little scarier. Like I'm like,
less rolly robots.
But so how many? I don't think we got your actual score. How many killer drones would you give it?
Well, you know what? Overall, I'm just gonna have it drop down because it took my spot, and I wanted to talk about my.
You didn't drop it down?
No,
out of spite.
Out of spite. It's a 9 out of 10 out of spite.
9 out of 10 out of spite. Got it.
That's 3 fractions, Kyle. You better put it in correctly.
That's a new rating for us. Out of spite. So that's interesting. But yeah, so is that your final rating then?
Yeah, it is my final rating. I actually
9?
do have a little bit of grievances for some certain things in this movie, but it is a fantastic movie either way.
Great. Well, that's high recommendations from all of the Unapologists. So, if you would like to join us next time for Wormwood, hopefully that'll be just as good.
Nah, it won't. Like, we've watched it, it won't.
It'll be fun to talk about.
It will be fun.
But yeah, if you want to join us for that next time next week,
maybe it should have been a spoiler. It won't.
yeah, that's all right. I feel like they could probably figure it out.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh yeah, I guess we don't technically have to pick one because
we already have one.
I'm off today. I don't have to last minute pick one, so I get a whole week to procrastinate on it. But yes, join us next week for that. In the meantime, if you would like to suggest a movie for us to watch, you can do so at any of our contact info, like on our webpage, our brand spanking new webpage, unapologeticgeekout.com. You can leave us a comment there, or you can email us at unapologeticgeekout@gmail.com. You can, follow us on Twitter at UGO Podcast. Our Instagram's the same thing. And, as long as you're there on the interwebs and stuff, you can go to Facebook, give us a like, and message while you're there if you need to. And with that, we are going to go into a spoiler section after this small musical break. So we'll be back right after this.
Alright, stop what you're doing, cause I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you're used to. I look funny. But yo, I'm making money, see? So yo, world, I hope you're ready for me. Now gather round. I'm the new fool in town, and my sound's laid down by the underground. I drink a bottle of Hennessy you got on your shelf, so just let me introduce myself.
Okay, so spoiler section for Dope. Now, extra warning before this one starts, please watch this movie before you listen to this. Like, it's not like one of our other ones where like it doesn't really matter if you listen. It's not Cowboys versus Dinosaurs, like who cares? Like this is a legit awesome movie.
Did we even do a legitimate spoiler section?
We
just went like fuck it.
No, we didn't do it because I didn't care.
Because there wasn't anything to spoil.
Yeah, you're right. But no, this one I do care about, so I would highly recommend you watch this. So there's a couple other plot points I want to hit that I wasn't able to talk about spoiling before. Now, this movie goes to we are trying to meet Malcolm's trying to meet his Dom's business partner, or his and it turns out that he's missed his meeting with his sponsor, so he goes to that instead, and it turns out they are one and the same.
They are indeed.
How amazing is that scene?
That's pretty good.
Because that scene goes from like, oh my god, what is he gonna and he goes like, oh my god, he brought the gun and the fucking drugs to him to a sponsor meeting. How is this gonna go? And then you slowly start to realize through the environment of like the pictures, I'm like, oh shit. And they have this great conversation of like his sponsor, like knowing that like he's got the drugs and like who he is, and like he's telling him like through vague kind of like, hey,
metaphors.
Big metaphors of like Amazon, right? It was like it was Amazon, like, and basically tell him like, hey, it's nice that you brought me the drugs and everything, but I'm going to need you to sell that as well, and then give me the money for it later, or I'm going to kill you and everybody. And but he says it in all vague terms,
right,
like, and nothing that would get him in trouble legally, like everything. But Malcolm's like knows exactly what the score is, and so his day went from bad to shit to somehow even worse to the worst day ever. Like,
yes,
it's like, okay, now officially the day can't get any worse, and he has to go home on his mom's bus, which I thought was a really nice scene. Which the mom is just like, "You've had one of those days too, huh?" Because
we didn't bring up the plot point, the fact that his mom got held up
because of them putting a phone on her bus.
Yeah, which
so
then
many plot points.
The GPS thing, and that was another one of those like, oh my god, it's his mom's bus, and so it's like she doesn't even ask him about it. She's like, just lay down in the back and we'll go home after our shift. Just like it's like one of those subtle like small moments. Like, we'll get home. We'll get through this together. Let's just like we don't even have to talk about it. But let's go home and like sleep this off, and it'll be better in the morning. And for her, it probably will be better in the morning. For Mal, it's like, no, I'm still gonna be as screwed as I am now in the morning. But it's fine. We even have like this weird dream sequence in the middle, which is like him imagining everyone that he's met today getting on the bus and kind of staring him down. Like he's got all this pressure on him, like a whole world is watching him fucking up today. And then they get into selling the drugs, and they're like, okay, well, what do we do? Well, it's a white people drug. Let's hit up coffee shops or something. And I'm like, because they're selling Molly or whatever it is.
What? I have no idea. Eventually, they're called Lily.
Yeah, eventually it's called Lily, but it's like it's not. It is dope. It's like they treat it like a designer drug, like something you get at a party, like ecstasy.
Like an ecstasy.
Yeah, like something like that. So they decide to have a party, and after they've mixed together the drugs, they make their grand debut at the party, and they even have like this weird rock thing later where it's like, oh, we might even have a little more YouTube cred now that we play
now
this
the
party.
Arios might be more famous. They have 5,000 followers. So.
Yeah, so it's like, oh man, that's cool. And the drug starts to take off. They're selling it.
Well, that's where their hacker friend comes in, because they need to figure out how to sell it well.
And everything seemed to be going like, okay, there's a couple speed bumps and stuff. Like because they need to, since it's all Bitcoins, they need to like, okay, well, we need this in actual money. So what do we do? Like, well, there's a small chance that we could get caught if we transfer this or whatever. Like, okay, what can we do that has no chance of getting caught? And they do something even more dangerous, which is to put it down on a hard drive and exchange it for cash with the aforementioned alligator purse guy.
Yeah.
Who gives a great speech of, hey, look at these two bags. Which one's real and which one isn't? And it's like, well, I can't tell. It's like, well, neither can anyone else. It's all about who, like, people from this neighborhood know that anyone who's carrying this it's a knockoff because they can't afford it. Mm-hmm. But it's all about how you present yourself. Like, if you think it's real, then it is real. Your perception is reality. And he gives this speech to this kid who is basically, that's his core struggle throughout this entire movie. Yep. It's like this guy has been watching the movie and has been frustrated with the character, like, look, man, I'm just gonna lay it out here in this big ass metaphor so that you can get it and we can move on, alright?
Where were you an hour and a half ago?
Because I'm sick of you watching you fuck up, alright? And it ends with this great, like, I want you to hit me. What? I want you to fucking hit me. That's just, and of course,
and Diggs and Jib just bail on him at this point
because he gives him the ultimatum, like, you better hit me, or are you gonna hit me, or are you gonna puss out and run off? And those two are like, oh, was that an option? Well, I didn't know that before. See ya, and run the hell off. And
Malcolm, another point where you might have too much balls.
Yep. Yeah. Well, Malcolm's stuck in this situation of, like, I need this money. I can't leave without this money.
Yep.
But I don't want to punch this guy because I could die. But if I leave this place without the money, I will die. So I guess I got to go with the option where I could only possibly die. Because if I'm stuck between two really shitty options, I gotta pick the less shitty one, and he had to punch that dude in the face. And he's like, I am so sorry, oh my god. And then, like, I can respect that, motherfucker. I'm like, this dude was so crazy.
He's a little crazy, yep.
But I love it, because all those, that's another great tension scene where it's like, you are tense for this character, you don't know what's gonna happen to him, but it's funny, because the two friends, the comedic timing of them running off is like pitch perfect. Like, cause they're like, the whole scene there waiting for permission to run. And as soon as they get anything like, oh, is it okay for us to run now? Let's go.
Yep. They're facing the balls of their feet the whole time.
Sorry, Malcolm, whatever, we're gone. And yeah, it all culminates into, like, you know, things seem to be going well, and, you know, the movie actually takes a dark turn where it kind of like, no, this thing is for real. And it has, like, real life consequences, and they need to come back to reality. And then that's the point, like, after they have the money, the bullies come back from
for the very, like, first couple scenes of this movie.
And it looks like the bullies, like, the head bully gets a look inside the backpack, and you're like, oh my god, he's gonna take the money, and they're gonna be screwed because he's gonna have all that money, and they're gonna come up short.
I'm pretty sure this is, like, the exact moment where I said, like, well, they're fucked. I was just like, nope, we're out, done.
And then Malcolm has to pull the gun on him, and he has to draw down on him, and even his friends are like, what are you doing? And Malcolm goes, I need that money.
I'm pretty sure we were saying that too.
And he has to come down to it, and he has to say to himself, what am I willing...
The room went silent there.
Like, what am I willing to do? Like, you can see on his face, like, am I willing to take this as far as I need to go in order to get this money, keep me, my mom, my friends safe? How far am I willing to take this? And he faces off with the bully, and him and the bully have this great, like, back and forth, just no dialogue exchange. They just are staring down. The bully's trying to get a read on him of, like, will this kid shoot me if I try and take this money? And is it worth it for me to take this risk, even though this is a lot of money? And he looks at Malcolm's faces, and he makes the decision, like, nah, this kid's gonna shoot me.
Well, I think there's a big difference here is the fact that this bully, he's just that. He's just a schoolyard bully.
Yeah,
he's not a drug dealer. He's not a gun dealer. He
gets into a situation of actual violence, and he's like, no, this is too much for me. Like, okay, I don't even need those shoes anyway. And he doesn't tell his friends because he has the out. His friends haven't seen the money, so they don't know that he's bitching out from how much money. He's just like, okay. So he's not losing cred by bailing out when a gun gets pulled, like, so he's in a easier scenario to leave, which was good for him, good for our characters, and good for our characters too. And obviously, this is a great turning point for our character because it comes after that point of perception is reality, like what the previous guy just said, and he has to become the stereotypical thug that a lot of people perceive him as just from being black and in this neighborhood. They consider him like he has that working against him from people that aren't in that neighborhood. They think that they are all the same, but from people in that neighborhood,
he's the nerd.
He's the nerd.
Yep.
So has so many of these things working against him, and he has to prove like one stereotype right in order to get out of a scenario. and he, like, it's a great level of acting from this kid. What's his name again that played Malcolm?
I had to bring it back up.
But it was really, really some good stuff right there, because this film has so much clever dialogue in it, but in the really important moments, in the really, really heavy moments, very little dialogue is used to hammer home a really poignant statement. And I felt like that was, it's great, because a lot of movies can use a lot of dialogue to drive home a point, but so few rare great movies can drive home a point without saying almost anything.
And it's Shameik Moore.
Shameik Moore, he was a great asset to this movie. He was absolutely fantastic. What a great pick to lead this movie. And yeah, so after that face-off, he has to have another face-off with his sponsor.
Yep.
And I don't know about you guys, but what a great resolution to his character.
That was surprising and amazing.
Because it's surprising, because he comes in and he's all confident, like, oh yeah, I have the money here and the rest of it's in this Bitcoin account. And he lays it out for him like, oh yeah, there's a small chance you might get tracked. In fact, it would almost have to be intentional, like, to drop the dime on you. So he tells the guy, like, I have all the cards. Because, like, and even the sponsor's like, oh, really? You think you have, like, oh, yeah, I do. I have all the cards here, because if you come after me, or if I don't, if one of my family, or if I mysteriously disappear one day, I'm gonna have this set up so the FBI is gonna get dimed on where this transaction took place, and it'll be in your name, an account I set up, because I set it up, not the other guy that we thought would fuck it up. Like, cause we get that great dialogue with Will, the stoner hacker, who was like, "Oh, I can set up an account for you." You would have to screw up in order to get caught by the FBI. And we see that our character is like, "Oh, I can kind of see a way out of this now." And I like that, because it showed him forethought of, like, because he was thinking it through, like, okay, say if I sell all the drugs, I get all the money. What happens after I give the money back? He had the forethought of going, like, there's no reason to keep me alive, is there?
No.
In fact, there's kind of every reason to kill me, isn't there? So he was proactive in thinking ahead, which is a thing I love about main characters, is that they actually are proactive about getting themselves out of the predicament. And I really loved it, and he plays the scene right, and it gives this great resolution, because another thing I love is to see a character get dogged out and kicked, and then to come back strong.
Yep.
And I thought that resolution would be the gun aspect, but no, that's not.
No, keeps going.
It's not where he pulls the gun. That's where he's at his weakest, is when he pulls the gun, because he has to resort to the violence and the stereotype portrayed upon him by society in order to get out of a scenario. That's his lowest point. His highest point is breaking that scenario and surprising all of us by getting one over on the Harvard motherfucker, and completely turning that scenario to his advantage, because he gets the sponsorship from Harvard, because he has to tell him, like, oh yeah, you better give me that good recommendation too. He works that in, and I was just like, wow, that's perfect. That's so good. That's great character resolution. That's how you end shit.
It is such a great ending.
Yep, and then it starts off with his new personal statement that he writes up.
I like that scene a lot.
That felt really real to me. Like, I felt like that was a real statement that was given to like, I felt like they pulled that directly from a letter that Harvard got at some point, because that felt really real to me. About, like, him describing himself and, like, this nerd, like this thug, like a thug and a nerd, and he was like, close your eyes and imagine what these two would look like, and don't, like, no judgment, like, what do the two of them look like? And obviously, if you had not watched the movie previously, you would probably figure that one of them, the nerd, was white. The guy that did, he does good on his grades. He's kind of obsessed with the 90s. He's not good with girls or whatever. Like, he lists all these traits, and because of your stereotypes, you would picture a white guy, and then the other guy, you picture a thug. He sold drugs. He lives in a bad neighborhood. Like, he's listing all these scriptures that describe him, but they're describing two different people. And he's in the middle somewhere, and that's what the whole movie's trying to about, him coming to terms with him being a combination of these two perceptions, and realizing that I am my own person. Like, I'm not defined by what other people perceive me as.
Yep.
and it is really poignant and a great thing. And I thought the movie was going to cut out there and just be like fade to black and like, yep, that's it, mic drop. And but I think, or was it the prom scene? Was that after or before that?
I think that was after.
I think it was after too, because I remember it being like, because I remember the one thing I could change, I would end on the letter rather than the prom.
Yeah,
but it's
because he came home from prom and then he found his
acceptance
letter.
Yeah,
in which case they had to open up the letter. But if you ever get an envelope from a college that's bigger than a standard legal envelope, it means you got accepted.
Yeah, and you get a big ass envelope, so it was cool. So yeah, and then we get one more cool song of the Humpty dance, and we got our main character dancing like yeah. So that was cool for their credits, and yeah, like as far as, because you know how queenie I am about endings and how like I don't like it when things aren't even resolved like in the smallest way, but like for this movie, how much crazy shit it sets up, it resolves everything in an amazingly satisfying way. And man, I could just not praise this movie enough for the way it resolves and does, you know, circular story structure like that. Where, you know, just even things that you thought the smallest plot points circle back and are actually super important that you just didn't realize before.
Not much gets forgotten.
No, everything, because you know what's great about that is that you realize that crazy first half hour of the movie, nothing was an accident.
Nope.
Everything had a purpose that pays off later.
Yeah.
So it's like, I actually want to watch this movie again, knowing the things that I know, to see, just to experience and appreciate it on a whole new level. So, yeah, absolutely great. Is there anything else we wanted to spoil while we're in it?
No, I think that's good.
I think it was good.
I think we should leave it at this.
No, yeah. And with that, I think that'll bring our spoiler section to an end. And again, join us next week for Wormwood. Should be pretty fun. And with that, yeah, until next week, we're Unapologists Geek Out, and...
Gross.